Namaskaram. In this video, I wish to share with all of you my experience of the IIM CAP interviews. I had my interview of IIM CAP at or on 24th of February, and I just got finished with it. So every experience that I experienced on that day is very fresh in my mind. So I decided to make this video as soon as possible. I wrote down every question that the interviewers had asked me on that day of my interview, as well as the WAT topic. I wrote down everything in a transcript which I have to my right side on my laptop, so I would not miss any point while I make this video. So if you are somebody who is still awaiting their CAP interview, then this might be something which should interest you. My interview was scheduled in Mumbai, the center in Mumbai, which was the Hotel Management Institute, and it was scheduled there at 1 p.m. So it was an afternoon interview. I left my home. I stay in Pune, so I left my home at around 7 a.m. in the morning to catch a train, which was Pragati Express from Pune to Mumbai. I caught AC chair car train, so it was a fairly comfortable journey for me. I had already booked breakfast for the morning, which got delivered to my seat in the train even before the train had departed. So it was all good in terms of food, and that being done for 3 hours, I was extremely excited to go and give the interview in Mumbai. If you do not yet know me, I get very excited, interested, and pumped up when I face challenges. So this was something which I looked at and thought that this might be a challenge for me. It was the first time I would be giving PI, which means I would have 30 minutes where either the panelists try to grill me or get the best out of me. So this was a fun experience which I was looking forward to. So I was extremely excited. I reached in Mumbai the Dadar station, where I reached Dadar because the center where the interview was to be taken is closest to Dadar station in Mumbai, which was around 1.3, 1.4 kilometers away. So it was all good for me. After reaching there, I reached at around 11 a.m. So I had a lot of time to spare, but I didn't want to go anywhere else in Mumbai other than the interview place, because I also had to get changed. So I was not wearing a suit and a tie and and the complete formal attire right from home. I wore simple, homely clothes, and after going there, I thought that I'll go there and then change right at the center. So I did exactly that. I went to the center and then I changed once I reached in the center. Let me tell you, I expected better washrooms in a hotel management institute. It was not the case. The institute was not so clean, if I can say that, but it was all right. I changed there. I had no other choice, right? So once I changed there, I was waiting outside in the hot sun for about 1.5 hours, which was a lot because the sun was bright and it's almost the summer season. So if you do not know, if you stand for 1.5 hours in the sun, you will get scorched in Mumbai. But it was all good because we were waiting for our interviews, and all of the people, not just me, everybody was waiting outside in the hot sun. Again, so much for hotel management, right? So we did that. Once our time had come, that is, the clock struck 1, we were called inside and we were given our seat numbers. My seat number there was 21, so I was fairly in the starting slot. Once we got the seat numbers, we were directed to a room where the VAT was to be taken, that is the written ability test. We were given the topic of you're giving the topic of using chat gpt for homework assignments, whether it is better learning or it is promoting dependency. This was the complete WAT topic, and we had 20 minutes to write there, and we had to write around 300 words, which seems like a doable task. But let me be very honest, in that moment 20 minutes doesn't seem to be enough. I had practiced writing a lot. If you have your CAP interview with your WAT, practice writing a lot because you will need that speed there. All right. So I had to write with as much speed possible. My strategy there was very simple. For the first 2 minutes in those 20 minutes which we get, I planned as to how I should structure the whole essay, and I did a bit of rough work. They told us that the last 5 lines for 5 lines of the paper or the sheet that was given to us was for rough work. So in those 5 lines, I made a flow chart of ideas of how I would write the essay, and I did that in 2 minutes, in the first 2 minutes of the 20 minutes given to us. The rest 18 minutes went blazing fast. I was writing like crazy, and they were announcing in every 5 minutes that there's 15 minutes left, there's 10 minutes left, 5 minutes left, 2 minutes left. So they announced times, which was very important to me because I was writing like crazy, and I had to write a complete 1.5 page essay that is about 300 words in that particular paper. So we did that, and I did it not very comfortably. It was heavily stressful, if I'm being very honest. But I completed the essay, and I was fairly happy with the essay. That being done, we were given, they called out some roll numbers or seat numbers, and they said that you are the person who should go to the different room, which was allotted for checking of documents. So we went to a different room where we were asked to sit at particular tables, and they checked our documents. I had some discrepancies with my document, which they allowed me to correct later. They sent me an email where I could correct the documents. I corrected it today itself. So that is possible. If you have some discrepancy, they give you a chance to correct it. That out of the way, it was time for my PI, which was the most exciting part of the day for me, at least. So let's go to PI. I have written everything down so I wouldn't miss any question that was asked to me. This is exactly what it was. There were 2 panelists in my panel. My panel was number 3. There were a total of 9 panels. And in my panel, there was 1 male panelist and 1 female panelist. All right. So the interview started with the male panelist starting with the questions. He started with asking me to introduce myself. So I introduced the prepared introduction which I had of 1.5 minutes or so, which gave them many open-ended points which they could start questioning or get hooked to. The second question which he asked was, so if you do not know, I had a marketing agency. All right. So I mentioned that in my introduction. So he said, very interestingly, so you have a marketing agency. Let me not ask any questions from marketing, which was something that I had come prepared with. But he said, no questions from marketing. So I said, okay, sir, sure, no problem. Ask any questions that you want. So he continued by saying, so you are an engineer, a computer science engineer. Tell me, what's the recent news about AI? This was the first question they started with. I knew the answer. I had been going through all the news, recent news and everything. So I saw the recent news. If you don't know, it's about DeepSeek. If you're an engineer, learn about that. Okay. So it was about DeepSeek. So I told them that after ChatGPT, the most recent news about AI was of DeepSeek. So he asked me, so what did DeepSeek do different? Why the fuss? So I gave him all the answers regarding that, which is about the cost efficiency of DeepSeek. It was a Chinese product, so that much fuss about that technology, and it also helps in cost reduction for so many companies. So the complete A to Z of DeepSeek I told him, as an engineering point, whatever was needed, as a global standpoint, whatever was needed, I gave him everything. Then he said, all right, you talked about how you love to play table tennis. I was also table tennis player, all right. So he said, okay, you love to play table tennis. What are some good Indian players at the moment? So I talked about all the Indian players, how I was inspired by them and everything. I had everything prepared regarding this game because I play the game, all right. So if you play a game and you've written it in your hobby, please note down important players in that game, know about the rules of the game, know everything which you should know. Okay. Then he asked me, okay, Shavik, you read newspapers? I said yes, but not so much, sir. I do read, but enough to keep in touch with the current topics, the current ongoings in the world. If you didn't notice, I gave a very diplomatic answer. So, for example, something comes up which I haven't yet read, I would have the chance to tell him that I haven't read this particular part, but there are other parts. So it was a diplomatic answer, smartly played by me. If you are being asked the question, you can use a similar approach as well. So I told him that not so much, sir, but enough to keep in touch with what's happening. So he said, okay, what do you generally read about in the newspaper? Again, he's trying to understand what are the parts in the newspaper which I am very fond of reading. So I didn't give him any chance here as well. I again stated the same thing, all the headlines, sir, so I can be aware about what's going on in the world. Again, smartly playing it. The next thing was, okay, tell me something about recent headlines. So I told him that there were many headlines which were recent. Some we can talk about the Delhi election or even the budget, for example, which was even more memorable for me. I read through the whole newspaper in that case. Then he said, okay, you've read everything about the budget, so I won't ask you anything about the budget. Tell me about Delhi elections. So that was his general approach of asking. But I was excited. I knew about Delhi elections as well, but not to the T. So I didn't know the exact numbers. So he asked me questions like, how many seats does Delhi have? And how many did BJP get? How many did Congress and the Aam Aadmi Party get? I didn't know the exact numbers at that point, so I just told him that the total seats are in the ballpark of 65 to 70, and BJP got around 47, 48 seats. Congress didn't get any seats, and the Aam Aadmi Party got the rest. So once I told him that, he said, okay, he knows. And even I saw the expression of the female panelist. She was also fairly happy with the answer. She understood that I knew, so she had a satisfactory or a satisfied expression on her face. After that, he then said that now since you talked about entrepreneurship, because I was a startup founder, right? So I had talked about entrepreneurship in my introduction. So he said, okay, now since you have talked about entrepreneurship in your introduction, tell me about what the government is doing for startups in the budget. So then I told him about the different things that government is doing for MSMEs as well as startups, which he was fairly content with. I had read everything about the budget. If you want to learn about the budget, there is a video on my channel itself about the budget, so you can go there and learn about it. All right, and there's also supporting document to it, which is linked in the description. You can go there and learn. So I knew everything about the budget and I answered him everything that I knew. So he was fairly satisfied with what I had said. Now, as the next thing, let me see. Okay, that was it for P1 or the male panelist. Then he said that over to you, P2, that is to the female panelist. She started asking me that, okay, so you said you are interested in entrepreneurship, and in your WAT, she had read my WAT. So you wrote that copying has been the way humans have learned and improved since the dawn of time, which I found interesting. So in my WAT, that chat GPT topic, which I just said, I had written that ChatGPT will be beneficial because copying is definitely the way that humans have learned. So babies learn by copying their mothers, good artists take inspiration from other artists, good leaders learn from other leaders, good businesses learn from other businesses. So I had written that, and that was an interesting perspective that they had found, the teacher had found, lady teacher. So she asked me about that, and she said that, okay, tell me about businesses that have copied and done great. So I knew of many examples like that. So I told her that, okay, there is Uber, which was copied by Ola. Then there's Airbnb, which was copied in India by Oyo. So these are things that I mentioned, and they seemed to be satisfied with the answer. And the next question which she asked was, good, now you were also saying that you have recently gotten interested in reading books. So I mentioned in my hobbies section in my introduction that I had recently gotten interested in reading books. So then she asked that, okay, tell me about a good book which you read recently. So I mentioned about the Thinking Fast and Slow book by Daniel Kahneman, a famous psychologist. So she was fairly content with the answer, and she said, okay, this is a beautiful book. Summarize this book in 1 or 2 lines right now. So I then summarized it for her, because I read by making summaries. So I already had a summary prepared, which played to my advantage. If you have read a book, prepare a summary for it. If they ask what's this book about, you can mention it. All right. So I talked about the summary, and then further went on to say, if you give me the chance, I would also like to mention my favorite part of the book, which they said, okay, please go ahead. And I went ahead with my favorite part, which is the concept of priming. And it's a very amazing, it's a fundamentally amazing concept which I had read. So I talked about that in this favorite part of the book question. Okay, that was the end. And then she said that, okay, we are done with the questions, then you can go out and you can leave. So that was my complete interview, or my PI, which went butter smooth. I had everything prepared. Whatever questions were asked to me, I had answers to. So I was very, very happy after giving my CAP interview. Okay, if you loved this video, I've also attached the transcript of what was asked to me in the description of the video. You can access that. And all the best for your IIM CAP interview as well. Once my interview was done, I came out and I ate something. I had brought cakes from home. You should bring something of high calorific value to your interview places, because after the interview you lose a lot of energy in the interview, you expend that. So you must come out and eat something, and eating something unhealthy is not so okay. You can bring something from your home. So I got cakes, and which I ate, and I was full after the interview, and again got back my energy to travel back home. I traveled back home by bus, by the way, which is a tiring journey of 4 to 4.5 hours. But it was worth it at the end. The complete experience was worth it, because my interview went great. I went there in the Mumbai center, and I met a lot of other candidates who were equally excited about their interviews. Some of the interviews went great, some not so much, but I hope your interview goes great as well, and all the best to you if you're preparing. I will see you in the next video. I hope you like this video. If you do, subscribe. I'll also keep posting more of these experiences as my interviews go by. Okay, bye bye. See you and take care.